Hey, welcome back. So today I'm gonna talk about the 2023 Cape Town ePrix that just finished. I thought it was quite an exciting race. Obviously, this track had been hyped as the fastest ever in Formula E coming into this weekend. So we'll get right into it. So before the race, obviously the big drama was that the four Mahindra-powered cars were not doing the race. It seemed like there was some kind of suspension issue that they had found on the cars that they couldn't fix in time for the race, and they deemed it was too unsafe to race. So all four cars were withdrawn, which I think was a really big shame, especially for Kelvin van der Linde, given that this was maybe his only opportunity in his career to have a home Formula E race. Of course, also Sam Bird did not start the race because he crashed in qualifying and it damaged the chassis. So Vanderstappen was on pole, Gunther alongside him on the front row. Lap 1, pretty good start from Vanderstappen. Cassidy got a really good start too, tried to maybe go down the inside of Gunther going into the first corner. Gunther manages to stay ahead. Let's see. Then at the first drama on the opening lap was at turn 10, Buemi is hit by Verline. Verline just brakes too late. And it breaks himself and just hits the back of Buemi, spins Buemi around. Buemi luckily is able to continue, but it drops to the back of the field. Verline retires with suspension damage. So that's championship leader Pascal Verline out of the race first lap. Second lap, full course yellow is called because of Verline's stricken car. This full course yellow was quickly turned into a full safety car. So at this point, the order was Gunther, Fenestras, Cassidy, Evans, and Byrne. And the commentators were really unsure. How did Fenestras end up behind Gunther? And it took us quite a while to actually get a replay of this. It was like almost halfway through the race. And when they called full course yellow, Gunther didn't slow down as much as Fenestras and just simply overtook him. And they actually announced that he was under investigation for it. I'll talk about the result of that later, but yes, and then Mortara was also out, so that's one Maserati out of the race already. Let's see, yes, so then lap 5, safety car comes in. At this point, I was super annoyed because they were just showing helicopter shots of the stadium and Table Mountain and kind of the area of the track. So it had gone green, but we couldn't see any of the cars. So super frustrating camera directing, I thought there. Yeah, so cars start taking attack mode. So Sergio Camara and Buemi from the back of the grid start taking attack mode. Evans is under investigation for overpower. So basically the car went over the 300 kilowatts. It's always a slam dunk penalty. We knew that was going to happen. And he eventually does get a drive-through penalty for that. So that's basically his race ruined there. Lap 8, Van Doorn, Dennis, and Lauder take attack mode. Lap 9, Byrne, Byrne and someone takes attack mode. And then, so at this point, Cassidy was in second and overtakes both Fenestras and Evans because they have taken attack mode. Lap 11, Gunther takes attack mode again, stays ahead of Fenestras, so he's currently in second behind Cassidy. Cassidy stays in the lead, and then of course they announced that Evans got a drive-through penalty at this point. Both Gunther and Fenestras in second and third have less energy than those behind. The Porsche powertrain cars look good, so at this point both Dennis and DaCosta looked pretty good, as well as Lauder in terms of energy. There's like only about 2% difference. Let's see. So lap 13, Rast and Dennis both take attack mode, and this was Dennis's second attack mode. So he was the only driver at this point in the race to take 2 attack modes. Lap 14, Cassidy takes attack mode, stays in front, and Gunther also takes attack mode. Lap 14, Hughes breaks himself and drops a couple places, so he goes from I think about 8th place to about 10th place and drops behind both Van Doorn and Dennis. Alright, let's see, where were we? Okay, so lap 15, Tictum takes attack mode and stays in 7th. Cassidy, and then Cassidy finishes Gunther, Jev and Rasta the top 5 at this point. Lap 16, Buemi overtakes Lauderer for 12th. Jev takes attack mode and drops to 4th. Lap 18, lots of energy saving, very few changes for position outside of the attack modes. So at this point, there's very little overtaking outside of basically when a car goes to take attack mode, they lose time, they lose position. So I think also cars were trying to be quite strategic because they knew that there was going to be a lot of energy saving towards the end of this race. So I think they were just kind of holding back until the end. Okay, yes, at this point Dennis, they announced a drive-through penalty because he was not respecting minimum tire pressure. So basically the tire pressure was lower than the minimum that's set in the rules, and in theory this can give you more grip. There's also, I think when you do lower tire pressures, it's also can be a safety concern, so I think that's part of why they have that. He basically got a drive-through penalty, probably not his fault, it's probably a mistake on the team's end, and that's basically his race ruined there. They also announced Lauderer was under investigation for safety car procedure, so it seems like he did something wrong during the safety car, and he was given a 5-second penalty for this. Lap 21, Gunther crashes out. Basically, going into turn 1, it's a very tricky braking zone where you have to basically turn and brake at the same time. He just gets it slightly wrong, hits the wall, and looks like it damaged the suspension. So that was Gunther out of the race from 3rd place, I believe. So unfortunately, the last couple of years, Gunther would have moments like that where it would just be quite crash prone and crash out of very good position. So unfortunately, crashes out from 3rd here. Lap 22, Fenechas also takes attack mode. So at this point, the top 4 is Cassidy, DaCosta, Byrne, and Fenechas. So somehow out of nowhere, DaCosta has kind of come into the lead of the race. I think through very effective attack mode use, which is in his case was not taking attack mode. He basically just stayed out and didn't take attack mode, and basically managed to pick up the pieces, and while others stayed behind and were then unable to overtake him. Full course yellow is out at this point because of Gunther's crash. It ends very quickly. Lap 23. Let's see, very top 7. So I think at this point the top 7 cars were all very tight together. It was a very tight train. Let's see. Then lap 24. At this point, Fenechas was going very wide at turn 1. So he was basically leaving it very late on the brakes going into turn 1, so it was really affecting his exit going up to through the turn 2-3 complex and eventually to the chicane. Alright, lap 24. DaCosta takes the lead, he basically overtakes Cassidy going into turn 8. This was really the first proper overtake we'd seen on TV at this point, and it was crazy. There's very little room, it's a very high risk move. Remember, turn 8 leads into turn 9, which is the corner which we've had 3 really massive crashes this weekend. And he starts building a gap because he needs to take attack mode because he still has an attack mode to take. Lap 25, Verne overtakes Cassidy for 2nd. Seems like at this point there was an issue with Cassidy. They interviewed him after the race and he was very coy about it. He wouldn't say what the issue was, so it seems like something he wants to keep. He and the team wants to keep a secret. Lap 26, DaCosta takes attack mode but misses it. He only takes goes through 2 of the 3 loops. So he actually misses one of the loops. So he uses all this energy to build a gap to take attack mode, tries to take attack mode, doesn't take it, so he has to do it again. So he basically spends a couple laps to build up the gap again before he attempts it. So lap 27, Lauderer overtakes Hughes for 9th. Then lap 28, DaCosta takes attack mode again. This time he falls behind Verne, who takes the lead. And the cars are extremely close together. They look like they're almost bumping, and there's bits of carbon fiber a couple of laps later. Lap 29, they announced there's 2 added laps. Cassidy looks like he's struggling a bit with a variety of things, and this is the thing that we don't really know what was going on. Lap 30, Fenechas overtakes Cassidy for 3rd into the chicane. Good move. There was contact at turn 10, so you could see in the background a bunch of carbon fiber bodywork just kind of going up into the air. So, like I said the lap before, lots of very contact going on, very tight. Buemi overtakes Van Dorn at this point. Lap 31, DaCosta overtakes Verne for the lead. second last lap at turn 8. It was a crazy move, very similar to the one he done in Cassidy. It was extremely late, and it was like really edge of your seat stuff. Like you saw him go for it, and you're like, is he actually gonna make it? And then he somehow did. It was amazing. Probably one of the best overtakes I've ever seen in Formula E. Buemi overtakes Ticktum at turn 10. Final lap, unfortunately, pole sitter, one of the stars of this weekend, Fenestras is in the wall at turn 7. So he basically is classified, doesn't get any points. So they crossed the finish line, Costa first, John-Eric Vergne second, Cassidy third, René Fast fourth. Buemi somehow ends up in fifth after basically being last, after being tapped on the first corner. So great late race by him. Ticktum 6th, 7th Van Dorn, 8th Nato, 9th Lauder, 10th Hughes, 11th Evans, 12th Sturgis Eddie Camera, 13th Dennis, 14th Fenestras, and the retirements were Gunther, Mortar, and Verline. So your championship standings, tentatively, of course things unfortunately in Formula E can change after the race. Verline first with 80 points, Dennis 62 points, John-Eric Vergne moves up to 50 points, DaCosta 46 points, Cassidy 43 points, Buemi 6th with 41 points, Rash 38 points, Bird 8th with 28 points, Hughes also with 28 points, Degrassi 18 points, Lauder 18 points, Evans 14 points, Van Dorn 11 points, Nato 11 points, Sergio Sedicamera 10 points, Ticktum 9 points, Roland 8 points, Fenestras 7 points, Mortar 3 points, Gunther Muller, Van der Linde, and Friends all on 0 points. Your team's championship for Porsche extended lead in first place with DaCosta's win, 126 points. Envision second with 84 points, Andretti third with 80 points, McLaren 66 points, DS Penske 61 points, Jaguar 42 points and 6th, 7th Mahindra 26 points. Still really dealing with the they're basically a lot of their points came from that basically that shock podium for Degrassi in Mexico. So they're still kind of reaping the rewards of that. Neo 8th with 19 points, 9th Nissan with only 18 points, 10th Maserati with 3, and 11th Apt still with 0 points. So overall I thought it was a pretty good race. I think a really strategic race. Not a lot of overtakes like we saw last week in Hyderabad. Of course, very high on energy saving, energy management. But the overtakes that we did get were honestly spectacular. A lot of crashes, very high risk, high reward circuit, I think. So overall, I thought it was a really solid race. Quite different from I think some of the other races we've had so far this year, but overall very good. So I will give my further thoughts in my power rankings later this week. Unfortunately, we have a long gap till the next race, which is Sao Paulo ePrix, I believe, which is basically 1 full month from today. So thank you so much for watching. Please like and subscribe to the channel if you enjoyed it. I would really appreciate it. And please leave your thoughts in the comment section down below. Goodbye.